Flags represent the civilians that are here fighting. It doesn't represent the governments, but we are keeping account of all the civilians that are here fighting, that have come from their own countries. They've sold everything they've owned. They've sold their vehicles, their cars, their motorcycles, everything to come here and support Ukrainians. So it is truly heroic what these kids and adults have done as far as getting here on their own dime and spending their own money to come here and fight with the Ukrainians. But it's only a small percentage, of if we have 5,000 here against 5 billion adults, it is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. And we need 100,000 people here fighting. This square should be filled with thousands of people from every country. We've only got 50 countries represented. We've got 190 countries. So obviously we're missing 140 countries. So that's unacceptable. So, every civilian from every country needs to come here. This is an indictment of every civilian's good and evil compass. If you're not here and you're sitting on your couch watching TV, then you're not doing the right thing. This is about caring and kindness and loving and altruism and everything that's good in the world. We need to show Putin that generosity is what runs this world and not cruelty and terrorism. So this is an instrumental moment. We cannot let the interest in this war drop off to nothing and leave the Ukrainians stranded and leave me stranded here for the next 10 years. It can't happen.
Driver! Take 2 steps to your right! Take 2 steps to your right!
Come back.
Driver! Walk straight back! Keep walking!
Keep that long. We need long
Now, Routh currently lives in Hawaii after spending the majority of his life in North Carolina, where he worked in construction, including owning a company called United Roofing. The Palm Beach County Sheriff said this morning they're looking into his flight schedule and how he even traveled to get here in Florida. Right now, they say Routh is not talking to law enforcement. Now, a witness saw Routh run from the golf course bushes and jump into a black Nissan yesterday. He was then pulled over on I-95 in Martin County.
Made the stop and then at gunpoint ordered him out of the vehicle. He complied. His demeanor was perplexing in some way, despite the fact that we had numerous people out with rifles, uniformed personnel, a helicopter.
And no charges have been filed just yet, but we do expect that's the next step. We're also looking for details about when he could possibly be in court. Now, we are hearing this morning that the active director of the Secret Service is here on the ground at the golf course and should be doing a walkthrough of the site shortly. Mel and Dana.
Now, Dana Marie McNichol in West Palm Beach, Florida, with more on yesterday's assassination attempt.
Kaylee, Ryan Routh walked into that federal courtroom this morning smiling, shackled by his hands and feet. He was even seen laughing while speaking to his court-appointed attorney. Now, the judge presented 2 different charges: possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and a possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Combined, the judge says he could face 20 years in prison and $500,000 in fines. Fox is told additional federal charges are possible, but we understand that these charges presented today will keep him in jail. Now, Routh told the judge that he only makes about $3,000 a month with no assets other than 2 trucks in Hawaii. The sheriff said yesterday when Routh was arrested, his demeanor was perplexing. And that continued today in the courtroom when he was smiling and laughing. And we are just getting our hands on the affidavit, and a couple of things stood out to me. It said he was driving a car with stolen plates. Of course, he fled the scene, and officers were able to pull him over and arrest him on I-95. And then also, Routh's mobile phone was detected in the area at 2 a.m., so the night before this happened, until 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, Routh is being held in the Palm Beach County Jail, and he is expected in court for his next appearance on Monday, September 23rd.
Dana Marie, thank you.
Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, I have been to this area. It's not like a normal golf course that you drive by in your daily travels and you can see the players playing from the road. The entire course is blocked by greenery if you're on a public road. So how did this guy know that he would have a line of sight to the president?
Because I believe he did surveillance. I believe he had somebody telling him or some way to find out what Trump's movement was. When you look at this map right here that you were just talking about, it is surrounded by roads that go right around it, and you step off the road onto the sidewalk and straight into the trees, and there's a fence right there. He picked a location, had time to set up, tie up, and fix ballistic plates to the fence along with a supply bag, a GoPro, and set himself up for the shot. That takes, I mean, if he just ran up there and did it, it would take at least 5 minutes to do that. But he also staged his vehicle so he could get away. So all that occurred in the perimeter in a location where Trump was going to be. And just like in Pennsylvania, it was not discovered. The perimeter was not secured, and this individual was able to go, simply just get out of his car and walk over there. Now, whether or not he staged it earlier, we don't know, but the reality is he was able to set up a shooter's hide and prepare himself for the shot and let the president get within max effective range of that SKS, which is a Russian AK-47, and he could have, if that Secret Service had not had seen him and the president got a little bit closer, he could have taken the president out yesterday.
Yeah, and Jonathan, how do you feel about, what are your thoughts on the suspected gunman? He even spoke to the New York Times recently, and apparently he was on this personal mission to form an army of his own to defend Ukraine, and he even traveled to Kyiv to do just that. And the Washington Post is also reporting that he wrote a book last year, and he alluded to the fact that he supported Donald Trump in one of the elections, but regrets it. And there's even one line in this apparent book. He says, "You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment." So what are your thoughts on the potential political motivation here behind all of this?
You know, I think the left, and I say this with all sincerity, I believe the left is a national security threat to this country. I mean, you look at everything that they do, whether it is destroying the children's minds in the education system with this gender grooming, whether it's killing the southern border and allowing whoever wants to come over and get handouts from the government, propping up and promoting violence against conservatives. Let's just look in the past few years. The congressional baseball game where Scalise was shot, that individual was a leftist, Bernie Sanders supporter, shot a congressman with the same type of rifle, an SKS. I find that strange. You have the shooter in Pennsylvania. We don't know what his politics were because we haven't found anything from the FBI, that we haven't been told anything. He was able to use an AR-15 and get within 130 yards of the president, former president. And then we have this individual using the same type of gun as the individual who shot up the congressional baseball game, gets within 400 yards. So, and all of these individuals, as far as we can tell, at least two of them are far left individuals. Many of the school shooters that have killed numerous children in schools have been transgender, which means they've been confused by the left's grooming policies in schools. There is a major issue here that everybody is missing because they're trying to be politically correct, and that is the fact that the left is a national security threat, that these types of actions that are being taken are not just being taken because this guy doesn't like Trump. It's the basis in which he doesn't like Trump, because Trump didn't support some of his ideals, which are leftist ideals. And that seems to be a reoccurring issue, along with, from an investigative standpoint, these perimeters that are never secured. And it's local law enforcement's fault, and it's also the Secret Service's fault. But these individuals are being allowed to get within max effective range of the weapons that they choose. And that alone is suspicious to me, and it is unbelievable that that can happen to Trump, who's already been shot once, let alone anybody else that the Secret Service is protecting. It's just something needs to change when it comes to securing the perimeters, or else my suspicion is going to continue to go sky high, which it is right now.